there. You are listening to the Light FM's Girl Talk podcast, brought to you by the Stoner Group at UBS Financial. My name is Carol.
This is Alicia.
This is Tricia.
And today we are going to talk about waiting. Dun, dun, dun. We all hate to do it, but it's a necessary evil. I think it's even harder now with social media the way it is.
True.
Like, if you send somebody a text message and you don't automatically see bubbles,
You need it right away.
I know. You're
They don't like me.
They're mad at me.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly the thought process.
Yes,
You're right.
it's true. They haven't responded. I sent that an hour ago.
They're irritated at me for bothering them. So I'm trying to teach my kid that, too. She doesn't have a device, so it's not her. But when she texts people, you know, that she needs to get in touch with, and they don't immediately text back, she's like, should I call them? Should I text them back? I'm like, just wait.
Yeah.
You know, just wait right here. And I read this amazing quote, and I hope I get it right. If I don't, it won't be so amazing. But and it said, the day you plant is not the day you harvest.
That's good.
The day you plant is not the day you harvest. And I think we're living in a time in which we think the day we plant is the day we harvest. And so we forget. I think there is great benefit in the wait. And I even had a bracelet I quit wearing because
You're tired of waiting?
Because I was tired of waiting that said, don't rush the wait.
Oh, that's so hard. Jeez.
And I'm not just talking about stoplights. I'm not just talking about, doctor's appointments or whatever. I'm talking about the waiting of life that we all find ourselves in and the valuable lessons that we learn in that in-between time.
Well, let's talk about those. I want to know what they are, because I'm sitting here thinking, what is the value in waiting? We're so used to Amazon free shipping in 2 days. Now drones.
Yeah.
Now, everything immediate.
Yeah.
And so I think I have trouble identifying the value in the waiting. But if I can identify the value in it, then it gives me a different perspective. So what's some of the value?
Well, here's my take on it. I'm kind of flipping it over and taking it from a spiritual. We want to a spiritual angle. We want to have everything immediately. We're
used to it.
We want to read the Bible and to be changed automatically. Can God do that? Absolutely, He can. Does He do that in my life? Not usually. It's usually a process. And I feel like we get so irritated when we have to wait for something, even in our spiritual lives, that we're like, okay, well, this God thing's not for me. I feel like a lot of people walk away from their faith just because they're not willing to wait. You know, and so I think there is benefit in the waiting, in the in-between times, the things that you learn. I used to hear this, that people use this phrase a lot. They would say it's not about the journey. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. You know, and I thought, well, that doesn't make any sense because you're working to get somewhere.
And if it's a journey, sometimes you don't like the journey.
Right. No.
It's like, no, I just want to get to the end.
All right. So can I just be completely honest about something here?
Yeah.
For the first time in like a long time, I've been divorced for 10 years now. It's hard. That's hard to believe. Right? Yeah, it's hard to believe. But anyway, have been divorced for 10 years. Well, we had an event this past weekend, and somebody came up to me and they were like, "Where's your husband?" And I just stood there for a minute because I've been so open and honest about my life. I thought everyone knew, you know, and I was like, you know, and it was like all of the sudden, you know, you see it on the movies. There's always this moment of, you know, and everything kind of stops. And I was like, well, I've been divorced for 10 years. So I'm not sure where he's at right now. Is that what you're talking about? You know, I mean, and it was just this awkward exchange of back and forth. And I thought about that because early on when people would ask me if I was married and I was always very uncomfortable sharing that. Now it's just like, oh, I'm a single parent. I found ways for me that it kind of lessens the blow. But in that moment, it was like I was back at day one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I didn't think I was going to make it. And I didn't think I was going to be able to continue in my job and do ministry and those kinds of things. Now, what I have learned since then is a lot, but it just took that long to send me back to that place, you know? And so I think there's such benefit in us learning how to be content in the journey of things and not always be focused on the end, you know, the finish line.
Well, and you can help so many people, and I know that you have because of your journey. It wasn't just a single moment you were divorced and then now you're all fixed and you know how to do this whole new life. But it wasn't an overnight thing. Right. It's been a process, and you can help people at all the different levels of the process that you have been. And I know there are people that are ahead of you that you learn from.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I can remember those early days wanting it to be over because I remember a friend who was kind of mentoring me through it. She was like, there's going to be a day where it's not going to sting so bad anymore. And I was like, well, give me the date.
That's right. Let's start counting down.
Is it May the 14th? Because if it is, I can live till May the 14th. But that's the thing about waiting is that you never know when that
Or what
time will
about
come.
things like that are good, positive experience? Like think about your college days, and I'm like, I couldn't wait to graduate.
I know.
Couldn't wait to graduate. That was like the pinnacle, the thing you're working for. And I look back now, I'm like, those were some of the best days of my whole life. Why would I wish that away? Or people that get engaged, and then they just can't wait to get married. They can't wait to get married. That whole engagement process is a sweet time.
Sure.
Enjoy it. Or pregnancy. Or adoption process, long waiting, and you just want it to be over. But all the things you learn, like there's a reason why that takes a long time because it prepares you.
Right.
I think every single day we're going to look back and go, oh, that was a wonderful time. That was a sweet time. I'm learning this now because my life changed so quickly. And I think back on, I didn't appreciate the moments, but I'm learning to appreciate moments now. Even in the middle of heart, if there's a great moment, you appreciate that moment and you live in that moment for a second and just, hug it as much as you can. And that's I think something I've been learning in the waiting to get through to the next phase of grief, for example. If you can still enjoy those moments, like you said, it's about the journey, not the destination. And I like this quote that I read once, which was like, God doesn't always change our situation right away because he's trying to change our heart. So if we can learn the lesson in the moment that we're in, then it gets us one step further down that pathway.
Yeah.
Well, and if you're going through a hard season and you can stop and recognize those hopeful moments and sit in those for a minute, that helps you get through the hard time.
Yeah, but I will say sometimes you need somebody to help you see those.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Sure.
you're so far in it that you need somebody to say, hey, see hope right here, and see it right here, and see it right here. And sometimes you want to, punch those people in the throat. But you love them and you appreciate it, but sometimes you need help seeing that. And I think, one of the, I was thinking about this today because we had somebody in devotion sharing a little something. And, have you ever just stopped for a minute, like when you're in the doctor's office or dentist's office and you're waiting for your name to be called? Have you ever noticed how people wait?
I'm not sure.
Next time, I want to challenge you.
Okay.
You go to the kids with because people wait in all different ways.
Oh, yeah,
you can see
sure.
people, bouncing their knee. They're like really, and
yeah.
okay, they're anxious. Just wonder what they're anxious about. Don't want to be anxious. Can I talk to them or engage them somehow? They might, calm down a little bit. Usually, I'm not the one for that. I make people more anxious. But anyway, then you have people who are completely chilled out. You got mamas whose kids are climbing all over them, and they're just like, okay, whatever. I'm like, she's got more than one kid. And then you I have been that person who no, we need to get back now. When my dad was sick, we went to a doctor's office and they said, we'll see you at 4:00. I was like, no, I'm coming to sit in the lobby until you see us.
Right.
And they did, because it was just one of those situations. So, it's just interesting for me to watch how people wait. But then I translate that into a spiritual lesson for me because I'm such a practical learner. I have to see things and I'm a visual person. And I think about how I wait in my relationship with God. Because am I anxious? Well, what am I anxious about? Because if I believe he's sovereign and in control and he's got my best interests at heart, then why am I anxious? Why am I bouncing my knee? Why am I nervous about this thing? Why can't I be like the mom whose kid's climbing the curtains and she just chilled out and she's like, we're just waiting for our next thing, and enjoying the moment that you're in. Why are you, so impatient? Why do you want to get to the next thing? Maybe there's something here that you're supposed to learn. You got an idea?
Trust. Well, as you were saying that, I was thinking, what is that? What is the difference when I am waiting patiently and when I'm waiting impatiently on a spiritual level? And it's trust.
Yeah.
It's if I can believe that the end result where I'm going to is going to be good, is going to be rich, is going to be full, it's going to be satisfying what God wants for me, then I can go through the process better. So I think it's about trusting.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And I think this too, so as the Lord often does, after I'm found in these situations, God often goes, hey, Carol. And so this Bible verse came to me. Have you ever been in a situation where the waiting has been renewing? Because God just kind of smacked this scripture down in front of me.
Yeah.
Those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength.
Yeah.
Oh, I hadn't put those two together.
I neither.
Waiting will renew your strength.
Huh.
Wow.
What do you think about that?
That's something right there.
It is something. I'm not sure what it is,
Well,
but
read it again.
They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength.
Sure. Yeah.
That's a promise.
But we often don't think of waiting as renewal
no,
time.
We do not.
You don't hear
But
anybody
like,
say,
especially if
you know
you're-
what? I'm going to get together with my girlfriends and just wait a while.
Yeah.
But especially if you're going through a hard time and you're having to wait, you're having to trust.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of being forced to trust during a time where it doesn't really make sense to trust. If something is bad and your heart is hurting and you're like, why, God, is this happening? I don't understand. I think it's much harder to trust than when everything's going great.
Sure.
So the waiting, I think, is working you through that trust to get there to say, you know what, the only thing I have left is to trust, to know that one day I will see everything in all the glory and I will, I don't know if we'll ever understand, but I think the promise will be there that it's for our good.
Right. So we already know that.
Yeah.
We already know that.
But it's so hard when...
So are we missing out on the renewal piece
Yes.
of waiting?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what you said is a promise. And if it's a promise, those that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength is a promise, then we can ask for it confidently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I haven't been doing that.
No, me either.
So
That's
I'm
because
going to start.
God's just going to smack me upside the head with that.
Yeah, well, you
And then
smacked me.
And then he also said, you know what? The doctor who you're waiting on, the dentist,
Yeah.
whoever you're waiting to see, there's so much going on behind there that you don't even know about.
That's a good point. Oh.
All you can think about is what your situation
Yeah.
is.
Mm-hmm.
My tooth hurts.
Yeah.
It's tooth hurty.
Yeah, I heard that. That was a good one.
I think that was
a good one. Yeah, but you don't know what's going on behind the door. You know,
Yeah.
you just all you can see is that little lady answering, "Hello, thank you for calling the dentist office."
But there could be an absolute emergency, tragedy.
Absolutely.
Who knows
Right.
what?
You don't
Right.
know, but all you can think about is getting your teeth cleaned.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and God was just kind of doing all these things at the same time and
Wow.
saying, what if the next opportunity that you have to wait, you looked at that as renewal? And you said, God, instead of me looking at this as a negative, which I think 90% of the time I look at waiting as a negative
The worst.
thing.
Yeah.
Maybe I flip the script and say, Lord, would you teach me how to look at this waiting time in my life as a renewal time?
I'm doing it. That's like going to be my new thing. Waiting.
Good. Tell me how it goes. No, I'm just kidding.
You'll have
I'm
to
just
See,
kidding.
these
I'll tell you
podcasts help
a little
us, too.
Well,
Yeah, this is really good.
I have to work things out. Like y'all know I'm a single parent, and so my middle schooler's not interested in talking about waiting right now. It's not like, let me share with you what God is doing in my life. And it's never like that because I'm always like, this is weird. I mean, here I am waiting, and I don't want to be waiting, and I want to move on to the next thing. And there's a reason God won't let me move on to the next thing. Maybe it's because He wants to renew me for the next thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And all that stuff. And I need a place to work it out. And Girl Talk has become a great platform for that, for us to just talk through things and to say, where are you at? What do you think about waiting? That is why we exist. That's why we do this podcast, because we do not have all the answers. I don't know if you've not, if this is your first episode, you may not know that yet. If this is your second and you don't know that, well, you've missed it. You've totally missed it, because we don't have all the answers. That's what we want this to be, an honest conversation about faith and life, and a place where you can say, I don't always understand, I don't always trust. And that's a new concept for me, to have waiting time as renewal. It's new for me too.
Me too.
And I've read that scripture probably millions of times. But today, God just kind of sat that down in front of me and said, what do you think about this? So we're going to be struggling with that and wrestling with it and trying to work it out in our own lives, and we hope you will too. We would love to hear from you. If you have seen us on iTunes, got here on the Girl Talk podcast through iTunes, we would love for you to leave a review, to share it with a friend. You can always text the word podcast to 800-293-1069. You can get the link to the latest podcast there. You can email us, girltalk@thelightfm.org. We would love to hear from you and your ideas about waiting and how to work that out in your life. We thank you so much for listening. You are an incredible part of this group, and we could not do it without your help. Also, without the help of the Stoner Group at UBS Financial. Thank you for listening today, and we'll see you next time we gather around these microphones for the Girl Talk podcast.